Lieutenant Jack Miller floated through the curved hallway of the USS Horizon, pushing himself forward with gentle touches against the wall. The ship had been in zero gravity for 3 days now, as they waited at the edge of Jupiter's orbit. Jack had gotten used to it, but he still missed the feeling of his feet on solid ground. His communication device buzzed. "Lieutenant Miller to the conference room," said Captain Susan Grant's voice. "Our guests have arrived." Jack's heart beat faster. The aliens had come 2 days ago in a ship that seemed to appear out of nowhere. Everyone on the horizon had been surprised and excited. This was the first time humans had met beings from another world. "On my way, Captain," Jack said into his device. He pushed off the wall with more force and flew down the hallway toward the elevator. Jack was the communications officer on the ship. His job was to send and receive messages and keep records. He never thought he would help talk to actual aliens. But Captain Grant had chosen him for the team that would meet them face to face. "They asked for someone who knows our languages and history," she had told him yesterday. "That's you, Miller." The elevator took Jack to Deck 3, where artificial gravity made walking normal again. He straightened his blue uniform and took a deep breath before the conference room door slid open. Inside, Captain Grant stood with Dr. Olivia Carter, the ship's science officer, and Alan Peterson, head of security. Across from them sat 3 of the strangest beings Jack had ever seen. The aliens had shiny scales that changed colors like oil on water. Each had 4 eyes, 2 large ones in the middle of their faces, and 2 smaller ones on the sides. Instead of noses, they had slits that opened and closed as they breathed. Their mouths were framed by moving parts that looked like the legs of a crab. Jack remembered from the briefing that these were called mandibles. "Lieutenant Miller, welcome," said Captain Grant. "Let me introduce Commander Vextar, Science Officer Krell, and Cultural Liaison Ziv of the Zalaxian Confederation." Jack nodded and sat in the empty chair. A small device in the middle of the table hummed softly, a translator that helped the humans and Zalaxians understand each other. "We were just telling our guests about Earth," said Dr. Carter. Her voice was calm, but Jack could see she was excited by the way she kept tapping her fingers on the table. "Yes," said the alien in the middle, Commander Vextar. His scales shifted to a bright blue color. "Your planet sounds most interesting. So much water, so many different life forms." The translator made Vextar's voice sound flat, but Jack could tell from the alien's body language that he was trying to be friendly. "Lieutenant Miller is our expert on human cultures and languages," Captain Grant explained. "While the rest of us discuss more formal matters, he and his team will help you learn more about humans." Vextar's 4 eyes blinked at different times. "Excellent. We are curious about your species. You are the first non-Zalaxians we have met who travel in space." Captain Grant and the other senior officers left to discuss trade, borders, and other official business. Jack was now alone with the 3 aliens. "So," Jack said, trying to sound casual, "what would you like to know about humans?" The alien named Ziv leaned forward. "We are most interested in your survival skills, your fighting abilities, your predators." "Yes," agreed Krell, the science officer. "How do humans prove their worth as warriors?" Jack was surprised by the question. "Well, most humans aren't warriors. We have soldiers who protect us, but most people are teachers, farmers, builders, artists, all kinds of jobs." The aliens looked at each other. Their scales turned a darker blue. "But surely all humans must know how to fight," said Vextar. "How else would you survive?" Jack tried to think of the best way to explain. "We work together. We build safe places to live. We make tools to help us. We don't need to fight very often." The alien's mandibles clicked rapidly. Jack wasn't sure what that meant. "Let me tell you about Zalaxians," said Vextar. "On our homeworld, Every warrior must defeat a Grelnik to become an adult. What's a Grelnik? Asked Jack. Vextar made a shape with his hands to show something big. 6 limbs, poisonous spines, and jaws that can crush metal. Many young Zalaxians do not return from this hunt. Jack nodded politely. He wasn't sure if he should be impressed or worried. 2 years ago, said Krell proudly, I tracked a void serpent across the ice plains of our moon. It was 3 times my size. I have its teeth on display in my home. And I, said Ziv, not to be outdone, once fought off 3 spike-backed Miroks with only a broken spear. Jack realized the aliens were bragging. They seemed to value hunting and fighting dangerous animals. He wondered if they were also trying to scare him. And what dangerous animals do humans hunt for their coming-of-age rituals? Asked Vextar. All 4 of his eyes blinked at once as he waited for an answer. We don't really have coming-of-age hunting rituals anymore, Jack said carefully, though some humans still hunt for food or sport. The aliens went very still. Their scales changed to a dark color that was almost black. You mean to say, said Vextar slowly, that humans have no experience fighting dangerous creatures? How? Have you survived as a species? Jack tried to explain about human evolution, about how early humans had used tools and worked in groups to survive. He talked about how modern humans had built cities and technology that kept them safe from wild animals. But the aliens didn't seem impressed. In fact, they seemed to be looking at Jack differently, now like he was something small and weak. Perhaps humans simply haven't met truly dangerous animals, said Krell. His mandibles twitched in what the translator called amusement. On our 5th planet, Vextar said, we battle creatures that can swallow a Zalaxian whole. The Morkith of Sector 7 have arms that can crush bones to powder, added Ziv. Yet our hunters follow them through acid swamps without fear. As the aliens kept talking about more and more scary creatures they had fought, Jack noticed that Alan Peterson, who had just returned to the room, was watching closely. His hand was near his weapon. The mood in the room had changed. What had started as a friendly meeting now felt tense and dangerous. The aliens were acting like humans were soft and weak, maybe even like prey. Jack knew he had to change how they were thinking, or this first meeting between humans and aliens could go very wrong. He suddenly had an idea. Actually, Jack said, reaching for his personal tablet, humans do have a special way of dealing with predators. The aliens stopped talking and looked at him, their scales now showing spots of yellow, a sign of curiosity. Jack guessed. He smiled as he found what he was looking for in his tablet. Maybe there was a way to impress these aliens after all. Jack held his tablet in his hands, his fingers moving quickly across the screen. The 3 Zalaxians watched him with all 12 of their eyes. Their scales had changed from dark blue to a curious yellow color. We live among predators every day, Jack said. In fact, many of us invite them into our homes. You keep dangerous animals as prisoners? Asked Krell. His mandibles clicked together in what Jack thought might be confusion. Not prisoners, Jack said with a smile. Family. He turned his tablet around. On the screen was a picture of a small girl with curly brown hair. She was laughing and hugging a large dog with thick brown and black fur. The dog's mouth was open, showing sharp teeth, but it looked happy. This is my niece, Amy, Jack explained. She is 3 years old. The animal with her is called a German Shepherd. It comes from wolves, which hunted our ancestors for thousands of years. The aliens leaned forward to look at the picture. That creature could bite the small human in half, said Vextar. Why do you allow this? Because the dog would never hurt her, Jack said. It loves her. It would die to protect her. The alien scales flickered between yellow and a new color, a soft purple Jack hadn't seen before. You have tamed this predator? Asked Ziv. Over many generations, yes, Jack said. Humans and dogs have lived together for thousands of years. They help us hunt, guard our homes, and keep us company. He swiped to another picture. This one showed a man in a wheelchair with a yellow dog sitting next to him. This is a service. Dog, Jack explained. It helps humans who can't see or walk or who have other needs. It can open doors, pick up things, and even call for help in an emergency. The aliens' mandibles moved slowly as they studied the picture. But surely these are the only predators you live with, said Krell. The most dangerous ones must still be kept away from humans. Jack shook his head. We live with many kinds of predators. He showed them more pictures. A woman holding a cat, a boy with a pet snake around his neck, a family feeding ducks at a pond, children at a zoo looking at lions behind glass. Dr. Olivia Carter came back into the room. She saw what Jack was doing and quickly joined in. May I? She asked, reaching for her own tablet. She pulled up a video and showed it to the aliens. On the screen, two small children were at an aquarium, pressing their hands against a glass wall. On the other side, a huge shark swam by, its mouth full of teeth. My kids loved the shark tank, Dr. Carter said. They begged to go back every weekend. You take your young to see dangerous predators. For fun? Asked Vexstar. His scales were now completely purple. Yes, said Dr. Carter. We think it's important for children to learn about all kinds of animals. Alan Peterson had been standing quietly by the door, watching. Now he stepped forward. We don't just look at predators, he said. Some of us work with them. He showed the aliens his own pictures. A woman training police dogs, a man with a falcon on his arm, zoo workers feeding meat to tigers. The Zalaxians were silent for a long time. Their scales kept changing colors, from purple to yellow and back again. This is not what we expected, Vexstar finally said. On our world, all predators are enemies. We hunt them or they hunt us. Humans used to think that way too, Jack said, but we learned that sometimes it's better to make friends than enemies. Even with creatures that could kill you? Asked Ziv. Sometimes, especially with those creatures, said Jack, because then they use their strength to help us instead of hurt us. Vexstar's mandibles moved in what the translator called deep thought. But what about the truly dangerous animals? He asked. The ones that cannot be tamed? Jack nodded. There are still many wild predators on Earth. We try to protect them and give them space to live. He showed them more pictures. A wildlife reserve. In Africa with lions and elephants, scientists studying polar bears in the Arctic, marine biologists tagging sharks. We don't need to kill these animals to prove we're strong, Dr. Carter explained. We think it's more important to understand them and protect them. Besides, added Peterson, humans are predators too, in our own way. We've had to learn when to use our strength and when to show mercy. The door to the conference room opened, and Captain Grant came in with the other senior officers. They had finished their formal discussions with the aliens. How is the cultural exchange going? The captain asked. Before Jack could answer, Vexstar stood up. His scales were now a bright mix of colors that seemed to shine like jewels. Captain, he said, your species is most unusual. We came here thinking humans might be weak because you do not hunt dangerous prey. Now we see that you have found a different kind of strength. Captain Grant looked surprised but pleased. I'm glad Lieutenant Miller and his team have helped you understand us better. Indeed, said Vexstar. On our world, we show our courage by killing predators. You show yours by living with them, understanding them, even loving them. This requires a different kind of bravery. Jack felt relief wash over him. The tense feeling from earlier was gone. Now the aliens were looking at the humans with what seemed like respect. I have a request, said Vexstar. Would it be possible to see more of how humans interact with Earths? Predators? Perhaps even to visit your planet? Captain Grant smiled. I think that could be arranged. We would be honored to show you Earth and introduce you to some of our animal friends. And perhaps, added Krell, his scales turning a happy blue color, you could tell us more about how you turned wolves into these dogs that protect your children. I'd be happy to, said Jack Dot as the meeting continued. The humans and aliens talked with new understanding. Jack kept showing pictures. Babies sleeping with cats, children riding horses, divers swimming with dolphins. Dot with each image, the gap between the two species seemed to grow smaller. What had started as a misunderstanding was turning into the beginning of friendship between humans and Zalaxians, and it had all started with a picture of a little girl and her dog. 3 days had passed since the first meeting with the Zalaxians. The USS Horizon was now heading back to Earth with the alien ship following close behind. Captain Grant had invited Commander Vexstar and his crew to visit Earth and learn more about humans and their relationships with animals. Jack sat in the ship's lounge, looking out at the stars. He felt proud of how the first contact had gone. What had started as a tense meeting had turned into something positive. The aliens no longer saw humans as weak. Instead, they were curious and eager to learn more. Lieutenant Miller, a voice, called. Jack turned to see Commander Vexstar entering the lounge. The alien scales were a calm blue color today. Commander, Jack said, standing up, can I help you with something? May I join you? Vexstar asked, pointing to the empty chair next to Jack. Of course. The alien sat down, his 4 eyes looking out at the stars. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Your sun, Vexstar finally said. It looks different from ours, smaller but brighter. What's your home like? Jack asked. Zolax is a larger planet than Earth, with stronger gravity. Our days are longer, our years shorter. We have 3 moons and many oceans, though not as much water as your world. And the animals? Jack asked. You've talked about dangerous ones, but are there others? Peaceful ones? Vexstar's scales shifted to a thoughtful purple. Yes, though we do not think of them often. There are flying creatures that sing at dawn, small water animals that glow in the dark. But we Zalaxians have always focused on the dangerous ones, the ones we must fight. Why is that? Jack asked. Our history is one of struggle, Vexstar explained. When our ancestors first began to build cities, the great predators would attack. Many died. We learned that to survive, we must be stronger than the beasts that hunted us. Jack nodded. Early humans faced the same challenges, but we found different solutions. Yes, said Vexstar. Your way is ... unexpected. I have been studying your Earth animals in your computer database. Dogs, cats, horses. All were once wild, yet now they live with you as friends. Not all animals can be tamed, Jack said. But we've learned that understanding a creature is better than just fearing it or fighting it. The door to the lounge opened, and Dr. Carter came in with a young woman Jack hadn't met before. Lieutenant Miller, Commander Vexstar, Dr. Carter said. This is Dr. Nicole Wright, our ship's veterinarian. She just woke up from cryosleep. Cryosleep? Vexstar asked, his mandibles clicking in confusion. Long-term sleep for the journey, Jack explained. Not everyone stays awake for the whole mission. Dr. Wright smiled at the alien. I hear you're interested in Earth animals, she said. That's my specialty. Vexstar's scales brightened. Yes, I have many questions. Dr. Wright brought something special with her from cryo, Dr. Carter said with a smile. I thought you might like to see. Dr. Wright reached into a pocket of her white coat and pulled out something small and furry. It was a tiny kitten, no bigger than her hand, with orange and white fur. It yawned, showing a pink mouth with tiny teeth. "This is Sunny," Dr. Wright said. "She's just 8 weeks old. Her mother is the ship's cat, Stella, who helps keep the ship free of any small pests." Vexstar stared at the kitten with all 4 eyes wide open. His scales turned a bright yellow that seemed to pulse with light. May I touch it?" he asked softly. "Of course," said Dr. Wright. "Be gentle. She's very small." Carefully, Vexstar reached out one scaled hand. The kitten looked at his strange fingers, but didn't seem afraid. The alien gently touched the top of the kitten's head with one finger. Sunny pushed her head against his hand and made a small purring sound. "It vibrates," Vexstar said in wonder. "What does this mean?" "She's purring," Dr. Wright explained. "It means she's happy. Cats purr when they feel safe and content. This tiny creature, double quotes Vexstar, said slowly. "It is a predator? It has claws and teeth." "Yes," said Dr. Wright. "Cats are hunters by nature. They catch mice and birds. But they're also loving companions. They form strong bonds with humans." Dr. Wright placed the kitten in Vexstar's hands. The alien held the small animal as if it were made of glass, his body completely still. Sunny turned around 3 times, then curled up in his palms and closed her eyes. "She trusts you," Jack said with a smile. "But she does not know me, Vexstar." Sighed, his voice filled with surprise. "Cats are good judges of character," Dr. Wright said. "She can sense you won't hurt her." Vexstar stared at the sleeping kitten in his hands. His scales had turned a deep purple color that seemed to glow from within. "On my world," he said quietly, "we would see this creature's claws and teeth and think only of danger. We would never know that it can also purr." The lounge door opened again, and Science Officer Krell and Cultural Liaison Zeev entered. They stopped when they saw their commander holding the kitten. "What is that?" Krell asked, coming closer. "A baby Earth predator," Vexstar said. "It hunts smaller creatures. But it also trusts. It sleeps in the hands of strangers." Zeev and Krell gathered around, their scales turning yellow with curiosity. Dr. Wright brought out another kitten from her pocket, this one black and white. "This is Moon," she said, holding the second kitten out to Ziv. "Would you like to hold her?" Soon all 3 aliens were sitting with kittens in their hands, or laps. The tough warriors who had bragged about killing dangerous beasts were now completely gentle, afraid to move for fear of disturbing the sleeping babies. Jack watched with a smile. This was not how he had expected first contact to go. But somehow, these tiny kittens were doing more for human-alien relations than any official meeting could. "When we reach Earth," Vexstar said, looking up from the orange kitten sleeping in his hands, "I wish to learn more about how humans and animals live together. Perhaps there are lessons here that Zalaxians need to learn." "We'd be happy to teach you," Jack said. "And I'm sure we have much to learn from you, too." Outside the window, Earth was now visible as a small blue dot in the distance. As the ships moved closer to humanity's home, Jack felt hopeful about the future. Sometimes, the smallest creatures could build the biggest bridges between worlds. The USS Horizon had been back on Earth for 2 days. The ship was docked at the International Space Station, which orbited high above the blue planet. Jack and the crew had been busy helping the Zalaxians prepare for their first visit to Earth's surface. "Are you excited?" Jack asked Commander Vexstar as they rode the elevator down to the shuttle bay. "Yes, but also nervous," the alien admitted. His scales were shifting between blue and purple colors. "This will be our first time on a planet that is not our own." "You'll be fine," Jack assured him. "The gravity is lighter than on Zolax, so you might feel a bit bouncy at first. And our air has more oxygen, which might make you feel more energetic." The elevator doors opened, and they walked to the waiting shuttle. Dr. Carter, Security Chief Peterson, and Captain Grant were already there, along with the other two Zalaxians, Krell and Ziv. All ready for your first Earth visit? Captain Grant asked with a smile. Ready, Captain, said Vextar. We are grateful for this opportunity. Everyone boarded the shuttle, and Jack helped the aliens buckle their safety harnesses. The ship's pilot, a woman named Lisa Chun, started the engines. Destination, Wyoming Wildlife Sanctuary, she announced. Estimated flight time, 45 minutes. The shuttle detached from the space station and began its descent toward Earth. The windows, Jack could see the planet growing larger. Blue oceans, white clouds, and the green and brown shapes of continents filled the view. Your world is so colorful, said Krell, his 4 eyes wide as he stared out the window. Zolax has more reds and yellows. Your blues and greens are ... beautiful. Jack smiled. The Zalaxians had changed a lot since their first meeting. They were less boastful now, more curious and open. The shuttle entered Earth's atmosphere, and for a few minutes, flames appeared outside the windows as the ship heated up. Then they were through, flying over mountains and forests. Those are the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Carter explained, pointing out the window. And we're heading to a valley where the wildlife sanctuary is located. What animals will we see there? Asked Ziv. Many kinds, said Jack. Wolves, bears, eagles, and more. All living in a protected area where they can be wild but also studied by scientists. The shuttle slowed and began to descend toward a large area of land surrounded by mountains. Jack could see buildings, fences, and open spaces with trees and grass. Welcome to Wyoming Wildlife Sanctuary, said the pilot as the shuttle landed softly on a concrete pad. When they stepped out of the shuttle, the Zalaxians moved carefully, adjusting to Earth's gravity. They looked around with all their eyes, taking in the trees, the blue sky, and the mountains in the distance. A woman with gray hair pulled back in a ponytail walked toward them. She wore boots, jeans, and a green shirt with the sanctuary's logo. Welcome to Earth, she said to the aliens. I'm Dr. Laura Davis, director of the sanctuary. We're honored to have you visit us. Vextar placed his hands together and bowed slightly, a greeting gesture the humans had taught him. The honor is ours, Dr. Davis. We are eager to learn about your animals. Follow me, she said. I'll show you around. The group walked along a path through the sanctuary. They passed enclosures with different animals. Deer grazing in a field, foxes sleeping under bushes, a family of raccoons washing food in a small stream. Most of these animals were injured and rescued, Dr. Davis explained. Some will be released back into the wild when they're healthy. Others will stay here because they can't survive on their own anymore. The Zalaxians watched everything with great interest, their scales changing colors as they saw each new animal. What's in there? Asked Krell, pointing to a large enclosure ahead. That's our wolf habitat, said Dr. Davis. Would you like to meet them? The aliens looked at each other nervously. These are like the ancestors of dogs, correct? Asked Vextar. Yes, said Jack. Wolves are wild predators, but they're also highly social animals that live in family groups, called packs. They approached the wolf enclosure, which was a large area with trees, rocks, and a small pond. Behind a strong fence, several gray wolves moved about. Some were lying in the sun, while others trotted around the space. These wolves know me, said Dr. Davis. I help care for them. They won't be afraid if I go in, and I can take a few of you with me if you'd like to see them up close. Is it safe? Asked Ziv, his scales turning a worried yellow color. Yes, if you follow my instructions, Dr. Davis said. These wolves are used to humans, they know. But they're still wild animals, so we must respect their space and behave calmly. Around them, to everyone's surprise, Vextar stepped forward. "I would like to go in," he said. "I wish to see these predators that became your friends." Dr. Davis smiled. "Good. Who else?" Jack volunteered, along with Dr. Carter. They followed Dr. Davis through a double gate system into the Wolf enclosure. The aliens stayed close to the humans, their movements slow and careful. The wolves noticed them right away. A large male with silver-gray fur watched them from a rock. 3 younger wolves moved closer, curious about the strange-looking aliens. "Stay still," Dr. Davis whispered. "Let them approach if they want to." Everyone stood quietly. The wolves circled around them, sniffing the air. One wolf, a female with light gray fur, came closer to Vextar. She stretched her neck to sniff his hand. "She's curious about your scent," Dr. Davis explained softly. "You smell different from humans." Vextar remained perfectly still as the wolf sniffed him. His scales had turned a deep purple color that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. "On my world," he whispered, "we would be fighting now. But here ... she studies me, and I study her." The wolf stepped back, looked at Vextar for a long moment, then turned and trotted away to join the others. "She accepted your presence," said Dr. Davis. "That's a good sign." They spent some time in the enclosure, watching the wolves go about their daily activities. The animals largely ignored the visitors after their initial curiosity, which Dr. Davis said was the best outcome they could hope for Dot as they left the enclosure. Vextar was quiet, his scales a thoughtful blue-purple color. "Are you all right?" Jack asked him. "Yes," said the alien. "I am thinking about how different this is from what I expected. These predators, they did not attack, they did not fear. They simply ... accepted. That's often how it is with animals." Jack said, "They respond to how we behave. If we're calm and respectful, many times they'll be the same with us." Vextar nodded slowly. "Perhaps Salaxians have been fighting for so long, we forgot there could be another way." As they walked back along the path, Dr. Davis pointed ahead. "Next, we'll visit our bear sanctuary. And after lunch, we have a special surprise for you." "What? What kind of surprise?" asked KREL. Dr. Davis smiled. "You'll have to wait and see. But I think it might change how you think about predators forever." After lunch at the sanctuary's visitor center, Dr. Davis led the group toward a separate building away from the main wildlife areas. It was a large wooden structure with a sign that said Predator Research and Conservation Center. "What is this place?" asked Vextar as they walked along the path. "This is where we study predators and work to protect endangered species," Dr. Davis explained. "It's also where we help injured animals recover before returning them to the wild when possible." They entered the building through glass doors that slid open automatically. Inside, the walls were covered with pictures of various predators: lions, tigers, bears, wolves, sharks, and eagles. Charts and maps showed where these animals lived around the world. A young man in a blue uniform greeted them. "Dr. Davis, the teen is ready in room 3. "Thank you, Ben," she said, then turned to the visitors. "This way, please." They followed her down a hallway and through another door. Inside was a large room with medical equipment, examination tables, and several people in white coats. In the middle of the room was a large metal table, and on it lay a magnificent animal. It was a mountain lion, its tan fur gleaming under the lights. The big cat was asleep, its sides rising and falling with each breath. "This is Luna," Dr. Davis said quietly. "She was found injured last week, caught in an illegal trap. We've been treating her wounds and helping her recover." The Zalaxians stared at the sleeping predator, their scales shifting to bright yellow with spots of purple. "She is beautiful," whispered Ziv. "On our world, we would consider such a creature a worthy opponent to hunt. Here, we see her as Anne." Important part of the ecosystem, said Dr. Davis. Predators like Luna help keep other animal populations healthy by hunting the weak and sick. One of the scientists approached them. Dr. Davis, we're ready for the next stage. Double quotes. Dr. Davis nodded. This is the surprise I mentioned, she said to the visitors. Luna is going to be a mother soon. She was pregnant when we found her. The scientist pressed a device against Luna's side and turned on a screen nearby. A black and white image appeared, showing shapes moving inside the mountain lion's body. This is an ultrasound, Dr. Carter explained to the aliens. It lets us see inside Luna, without hurting her. Those are her babies. The Zalaxians moved closer to the screen, their 4 eyes wide with wonder. How many young will she have? Asked Krell. 3, said the scientist operating the machine. They look healthy, which is amazing considering what she's been through. Doctor. Davis looked at the aliens. Would you like to feel the babies move? The Zalaxians looked nervous. Is it safe? Asked Vexstar. For her and for the young ones? Yes, Dr. Davis assured him. Luna is sedated for her treatment, and gentle touching won't harm the babies. In fact, we need to check them regularly to make sure they're developing well. After a moment of hesitation, Vexstar stepped forward. The scientist guided his scaled hand to a spot on Luna's side. Wait a moment, the scientist said. There ... Did you feel that? Vexstar's scales suddenly flashed a bright, glowing purple. Something moved under my hand. That's one of the cubs kicking, the scientist said with a smile. They're very active. Today, one by one, the other aliens came forward to feel the unborn mountain lion cubs. Their scales flickered with colors that the humans had never seen before, deep purples and blues that seemed to shine from within. On Zolax, Vexstar said softly, we never would have done this. We would never have been this close to a predator, except to fight it. We would never have felt its young ones growing inside. Jack watched the aliens with a smile. Their entire view of predators, and perhaps of life itself, was changing before his eyes. Luna will stay with us until she gives birth and the cubs are strong enough, Dr. Davis explained. Then we'll release them all back into a protected area of the mountains. You will not keep them? Asked Ziv, surprised. No, said Dr. Davis. These are wild animals. They belong in the wild. Our job is to help them when they need it, then let them live their natural lives. They spent some more time with Luna, watching as the scientists finished their examination and treatment. When they were done, they moved the sleeping mountain lion to a recovery room, where she would wake up safely. As they left the building, the sun was starting to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The Zalaxians stood looking at the beautiful scene, their scales reflecting the colors of the sunset. Thank you for showing us your world, Vexstar said to Jack and the others. We have learned much today. What did you learn? Asked Captain Grant, who had been quiet for most of the tour. That strength can take many forms, said Vexstar. On our world, we show strength by conquering. Here, you show it by protecting, by understanding, by helping, and by loving, added Krell, who had become quite attached to the kittens on the spaceship. You humans love creatures that could hurt you. That requires a special kind of courage. Captain Grant nodded. Every species finds its own path. We've made many mistakes along the way, but we've learned that working with nature is usually better than fighting against it. They began walking back toward the shuttle, which would take them back to the space station. The Zalaxians would stay on Earth for a few more days before returning to their own ship and eventually to their home planet. Will you tell others on Zalax what you've learned here? Jack asked Vexstar as they walked. Yes, said the alien commander. I will tell them that the universe is more complex than we thought, that sometimes the greatest strength is not in fighting, but in caring. He reached into a pocket and pulled out a small device something like the tablets humans used. On the screen was a picture that Dr. Davis had given him, a close-up image of Luna's unborn cubs from the ultrasound. "I will show them this," Vextar said. "I will tell them that I, who once hunted the most dangerous beasts on 5 planets, placed my hand on a sleeping predator and felt its babies move. And I did not feel like a warrior in that moment. I felt like a guardian." Jack smiled. When the aliens had first come aboard the USS Horizon, they had bragged about battling apex predators. Now they were sharing baby pictures, just like humans. Did dot as they reached the shuttle. The first stars were appearing in the darkening sky. Soon these new friends would return to their home among those stars, carrying with them a new understanding of what it meant to be strong, to be brave, and to be wise. And it had all begun with a simple picture of a child and a dog.